Okay. So you see this thing, right? This picture. So the two kids, 8, 9 years old. The way they make me look at these little girls is so nasty. Very beautiful, pretty little girls that they make me look at in this nasty pedophilia way, in a sexual way. As a target individual, you know that the perceptions and reactions of things are not naturally happening. At first they almost try to make me look at them like as if they're like adult women, and then try to create that perceptions and then apply that toward these babies. It's so crazy because at one point it's like, is these people messing with me? Because they're kids, they look like kids here, but they're trying to mess with me, and they try to make me look at them as like adult, and I'm like, look at them just like kids, right? And I'm looking at up and down, I was like, these are like babies. And they're like, oh, you see how you look at their breasts? They don't even have breasts. It's like, what breasts? They're kids. You mean their chest? And then try to create some nasty sexual ways of perceptions. It's so nasty. And it's like, oh, you think they're pretty, very pretty little girls, beautiful little girls. But now in my mind, turn into something sexual and disturbing and pedophilia centric. And it's like, now you attract. No, you are making me look at these kids in this sexual way, in these weird sensations I'm getting. But target individual, one thing when you're a targeted individual, they do this disturbing, one might call it evil ways of tormenting people. One is, it's funny, Robert Dawkins, he called it like very condensed evil. It's just so nasty, right? And torture, psychological torture is that kind of thing, right? It's not like just like physical, the pain and all that. This is one, but the psychological ways of being tormented can be like this, where things like that turn into something sexual. This is a wholesome picture of two kids turning into something sexual in my head. But obviously now I've understood. I've talked about how they manipulate people in this nasty pedophilia ways, and then they try to be like, oh, you see, they're going. So one thing they like to do to make you feel to identify with these pedophilia things. One thing they like to do is then warn you of what horrible things you're going to experience. Now, the reason why they tell me this while this is happening is because like, oh, they saw you, they saw this. These people saw you react this way toward these children. You're gonna get raped. I'm supposed to be like, oh no, my gosh, I should be identified with this now. It's no, regardless of what's gonna happen to me. What is happening to me is because I'm being manipulated to experience this way. Now, whatever's going to happen to me is going to happen to me regardless. It's not going to make me identifying or subscribing to this. This is the things you've been doing to me. And matter of fact, just because I'm going to be tortured or raped or whatever, I'm listening to people who are literally working day in and day out to manipulate me to see kids in this sexual way. So somebody who can physically harm me. Because a lot of the people that I'm interacting with, the fierceness they have is like remote. They use V2K and sound fierce and sound menacing and do things to me remotely. If somebody can physically harm me or can harm a person physically in person there, they can easily participate in the same way these bottom feeders are participating. Meaning they can easily participate in trying to make somebody experience things that they wouldn't experience naturally. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like they think like, oh, if we would prove them. No. I know very well that somebody can be like, oh yeah, well, let's do this. I'll do that to him too. Make him look at a child. Watch. Oh, it's you. Of course. If this weak, low-life bottom feeders next doors can try to make you accept this thing, what do you think somebody who can literally do harm to you in your face can do? These people think that I see them as like this special evil net. No, you're just a bottom feeder opportunist. They come in all shape and form. Just like I can see somebody or a normal person, in their mind they're like, oh, it proves. Like, listen, to find out that they do this pedophilia type of torture it takes 0.5 seconds. Once you figure out, about target individual, one thing you're gonna hear over and over is the way they manipulate people to perceive things in these disturbing pedophilia ways. It's such a systematic tactic. It's such a tactic that is so systematic and so like easily to find out. right? And you hear them try to find ways to disorient you. And via V2K, right? V2K is the ability, is the technology that has the ability to project voices into your brain. And for me, when they try to like they try to make me identify with this, you can hear even in tonality, they change the tone of voices, they try to sound menacing. And it sounds like, what it sounds like is like a, they're not children, maybe they're children, but it sounds like somebody who's just trying to sound like, oh, then you're gonna die. And then, like, like we're so bored because it's so obvious, like, but like in a gimmicky way, right? So you can hear them like, oh my gosh, you think the way you say that is gonna make me accept this? Yes, it's gonna happen again. I'm gonna look at a child, a little girl, most likely that's why they do the worst things, and there's gonna be some nasty things, and then they're gonna be like, oh yeah, attracted to that nastiness, foulness, and then they're gonna try to be like, no, we're investigating. No, that's what you're gonna do. That's what you make people experience. I understand. Then you're gonna try to brainwash me in a sense, to try to make me accept these things as if it's me. It's so nasty. It's so foul. And my brain, they try to have battles. I know the way I perceive things is completely manipulated by them. They want me to look at this in this disturbing way. They're gonna make me experience that. They want me to not look that in that way, look at the normal way. I will experience that. Whatever they want me to perceive things, this is how I'm gonna experience. And I know this is how sophisticated this technology is. I've understood this. I've fully understand that. I'm not delusional. I understand that I'm a subject in this human experimentation where these technologies have the ability to override your perceptions, your thoughts, your dreams, your memories, your everything can be manipulated however these people want to. And who are those people? Those people are obviously ran by this governmental entity, intelligence community entities. Even though these people directly doing this thing to me might just be contracted in some level, I see them as just the bottom feeders contracted to do these things. They're just like the tools they use. They're those people are supposed to make me experience this, look at the results, see how and continually refining this technology that is used as a weapon on us target individual. Of course, it can be used in beneficial things, but for us, it's the opposite. They try to change you, rewire you in these disgusting ways. I mean, if the purpose is to kill yourself, if the purpose is to devalue yourself, the rest, the details is not for me to know. I don't, but you understand the concept, the overall concept is there's obviously a research and development, and this is a technology used as a weapon. And so they weaponize this technology by forcing you to experience these disgusting ways of perceptions. I'm not a genius. It's just you start understanding, like, okay, it's a weapon. Your brain is now used as a weapon to torture you. So, okay, you see your brain, we can make you look at this kid in this way. Boom, it's disgusting. And if you don't know this thing, it can push you to suicide because you don't want to experience this. But you're gonna experience it the way this is. One thing they told me initially, they like, we have your brain. It's over. Of course, you don't understand what they mean. It means at this point, we can make you experience whatever we want you to experience. It's our brain. And initially you try to fight, like, oh no, let me look at that's not how. No, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is what it is. They have many brains, and they play with our brains in this disturbing way, so you can kill yourself. Sorry, not even that. I think they can, not even that. I think they want to prolong a long life of sufferance for the purpose of this technology. Now the psyops are the psyops. I understand this intelligence community have long mastered the art of false reality, false flagging, psyops, all of that. It's just like You understand that. So you accept that okay, what you're saying and what's reality is two different things. What you're saying is people who are going to try to act accordingly, but it's bigger than that. But one thing I'm just thankful, of course, I'm very thankful for testimonials, because they are validating what I've been saying. That's when you start seeing patterns. Why am I not the only one? Matter of fact, it's so. I mean, there were all kind of like testimonials about the ways they make me perceive things. They make me like experience things. I know myself. This is not like, this is degrading. This is disgusting. I'm getting this pedophilia thing, specifically calling that out. Petitions where they call that out. And you hear like the different like survey and how they, like, so you get those validation. And then, like I said, when what I'm thankful for is that I was still alive when this thing comes out, kind of calling out and saying this BuzzFeed article talking about, which was not very much covered by the mainstream media, but BuzzFeed is kind of mainstream, so it's not like a small like article, it's not a small like newspaper. BuzzFeed is BuzzFeed, even though it didn't get a lot of coverage, saying that there's a bunch of pedos in these agencies. Of course, CIA, which we know CIA is if there's one agency that can be called the founders of this research and development of mind manipulations, is the CIA. They are the fathers of these original programs, MK Ultras, all that. They're like they are the godfathers of these programs. You cannot think about mind controls and mind manipulations without thinking about CIA being one of the initiators. So you understand that these people, for sure, today, if they were like the first one to work on it, today you think they're not involved, like, oh, now we don't want to be part of that. Of course they're obviously part of that. And so finding out that those people, these entities, are filled with pedos. These entities have problem with pedophilia. And this BuzzFeed article calling that out, and it doesn't even end there. They call out other agencies, even DARPA. They keep catching pedophiles in these agencies. Of course, nothing happens to them. Duh. But it just kind of shows like this weird pattern of pedophilia in these agencies, while these people, this program uses these tactics of pedophilia to torment somebody. Now, I don't know if there's a correlation. I don't know if that's something to connect with. I'm not even trying to bring that up. But I'm just saying that I got to see this before whatever happens to me to the point where I cannot express myself. So not only I know they do pedophilia type of torture, it's just something they've done systematically to others, but to also find out that these entities who were running these shows, that are running these programs, have problem with pedophilia in their own agencies, while implementing these tactics to break people down, these evil tactics to break people down using pedophilia. Now I understand. I imagine them like the way they just process things here. They see that as like just it's war. They call it being a war. It's not war. It's obviously not war. Now the technology could be considered a war weapon, but we are just like guinea pigs. It's like experimenting on a guinea pig. It's like we are war guinea pig. But we're humans. But imagine just like that, like, oh, we are war. No. You're using this technology as a weapon. One of the ways to use this weapon is to utilize the pedophilia type of torture and break somebody's brain, rewire his brain or her brain in these ways, and then see that person breaking down. It's so nasty. And it's a whole ecosystem of people trying to get you to accept these things. People that let's just say, interacting with, people that you potentially dating, people like they all try to get you to accept these things. It's just so nasty. But you have to be strong in the sense of knowing who you are, because who who you are and what you're going to experience are going to be two different things. I've accepted that. But I've never been myself again. I've never been myself again since August 19, 2019. Since the brain just been rewired. Just got to be strong. I just got to be strong. And whatever torture, because I know at this point, I'm not subscribing to the psychological torture. They're going to apply the physical torture. They tell me how we're going to be stabbed. They're going to use our knife. It's going to be her knife. And like the random stuff like that. I was like, oh, wow. I'm talking about my brain being rewired in all different ways, and they talk about knife. I'm talking about memory completely being rewired. I'm talking about that part, and they talk about knives. Do you understand how childlike they want me to be? Yes, anybody can get, like, it's like, I of course I know this just to create anxiety, but if I'm thinking in a logical way, I'm out here talking about how my brain is being so rewired that I can't even look at this wholesome picture that they talk about, oh, our knife is complicated. It's like, yeah, you're just trying to make me subscribe to this thing, and on top of that, come on, they can blow my internal organs with that a single thing happening to my surface of my skin. It's like, our knife, so they try to like play these games, this like fantasy game, for you to kind of see this thing as if this is natural. I see them for of course I don't want to get stabbed, but I'm like, it's kind of comical. It's like, you talk about knives when I know what you can do to me with not a single person around me. I mean, I have an idea of how bad they can make, like they can paralyze me right now. They can make me feel pain everywhere, and nothing is actually happening to me. They can make me feel sufferance that you can't even comprehend, and nothing. So it's kind of comical to think about, oh, our knife. Oh, Jesus. Like, so the reason why I show what they do to me is because they want you to identify with this. I know they try to play with me and try to mess with me, but this is what they do. This is what they do, and this is what they've been doing. And as always, I just like to wrap up by bringing up the different testimonials from others.
K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual as well.
I think take this whole thing into account so much. I make it so dramatic. It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophiles. Like, this disgusting thing. And you saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing.
Every day has been a miracle of survival. I also experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation, so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my closed eye.
Were forced to perform homosexual acts on each other against their will and religion in order not to be beaten or killed. This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And vice versa.
Just working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic. And they used her to threaten the most torture in me, as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions, despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain.
Face, and it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, she was shot in the face. You know, it sounded like an angry ass old person. You know, then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. "Oh, get shot in the face." You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is, with the voices go, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow this to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them?
Sexual contact with a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. The CIA did not answer detailed questions, saying only that the agency takes all allegations of possible criminal misconduct committed by personnel seriously. Sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening for whatever reason with more frequency in our intelligence agencies, or is this something that is more pervasive in the general population than I originally realized? I mean, what's going on here? This is bizarre. It's so evil.
Allie, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you know, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance. Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
people that will carry the V2K? So they'll say, we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis, that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this. And so anyway, my interview with Len, he very well described a typical breakdown script that's used on almost all the TI victims. TI stands for targeted individuals. Some of them are pretty crazy. They have names like Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, and those are the confusion tactics. And when they're breaking down the ego of the human through all the pains and tortures and the verbal breakdown, these are typical CIA torture scripts. I mean, Kubark manual. And they do good cop, bad cop interrogation called Jeff and Mutt, and they go right through the list, right? Just textbook. So whoever the handlers are on the other side of this synthetic telepathy, they're following the handbook perfectly.